Guys, we're here to talk about our foundation, finally.
You're gonna gotta speak up.
What?
You gotta speak Gotta speak loud enough where the microphone can hear you. Alright, we wanted to tell you guys about the foundation.
The foundation situation.
This has been a process.
It almost feels bad that we're doing it 2 weeks later because it was like while we were in it, it was like so complicated and felt like the end of the world a little.
So I guess that's the first takeaway. If you're thinking about doing something like this, it feels very overwhelming. Picking a company, it feels very overwhelming doing it. It's crazy, but you come out on the other end and we feel awesome now. It feels so nice that it's done, that they finished it before we moved in.
Yeah.
It's a huge relief. The house feels so much better. It's awesome.
So essentially we bought our house and it was sloped about 6 inches. So we didn't know the extent at which it was sloped when we bought it, but we knew there was some foundation work. So we expected, at a minimum, $5,000 worth of repairs on the foundation.
Wouldn't that have been great?
So, we knew there were no cracks in the foundation, but we knew that it was like tilted. So what we did is we decided to get, essentially, there are like 1 million foundation companies. What our realtor recommended was finding a structural engineer and having them come out, because structural engineers are independent of the foundation companies. They will come and they will look at your house and they will tell you what they think you need to do. And they don't have any skin in the game because they are not part of the foundation company.
They're not trying to sell you piers.
So Tommy came, he took our house, and he comes out and he's like,
it's bad.
This is bad. And then we started taking his bid and started vetting out all these companies. So Michael kind of did all the heavy lifting, like talking to everybody, but it was my job to find the companies initially. And this is how I did it. I Googled people that had been in business for longer than 25 years.
Yep.
Because with foundation companies, you have to make sure they've been in business a long time, because then they will honor like their lifetime warranty. If they're just brand new, you have no idea if they'll be in business next year. Good reviews, and then any references that we had from like our realtor gave us a reference, or any references that I could find from like people that we knew.
And then I also had a friend from work who recommended a specific company, so we added that to the list as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the checklist that we had in terms of what we were gonna do. We went through, we culled it down from like hundreds of companies to 4.
Well, so you gave me a list of 6, and
Okay.
then I was able to knock off 2 from that list right away because of financing options, and then one of them I just didn't like. I don't remember now.
Yeah.
And then we had 4, so I called each of them, set up an appointment. I sent them the foundation report.
Yeah, because we had already, so at this point we bought the house. We have a month before we have to be out of our apartment.
Yeah.
And we're looking for someone that can come in and do it quickly. So we get Tommy to come and look at the house. He gives us a structural engineer report like a couple days later. He was so great. He was so fast. And then we started taking that and we started going to companies and we're like, we need stuff done so soon.
So there are a couple of things that we were looking at. The stuff that you mentioned already, but we were also looking for someone who could start quickly and someone who had a good financing option, because we knew we were not going to have enough cash to pay for it up front.
Yeah, because at this point in the process, we weren't quite sure how the renovations were going to work out. But then I was like, I'm a genius. And I had this brilliant idea that we should renovate the upstairs while they're doing all the foundation work. That way, at the end of this month, we would have a place to live. Because initially, we thought we were going to be super ambitious and be able to do a lot more in the house.
Yeah.
And we weren't. And we didn't, but it's all working out. So anyway, upstairs, there were no foundation issues in the back part of the house. So all the foundation stuff had to happen in the front part of the house. We bid out all these companies and they all were telling us different things, which was very confusing.
All right, so I've met with 3 foundation companies so far. Well, I've had 2 come to the house and 1 just quote based on the structural engineer report. So far, one of them just gave us a quote for about $9,000 based on the engineer report. The other one came in and was basically like, the engineer's wrong and he's telling you to do too much stuff. The third one just came in and said the engineer's wrong, he's not telling you to do enough stuff. So they gave me 2 quotes. One of them was $13,000 to do what the engineer suggested and $21,000 to do what they suggested. And we'll see what the other quote back. And I have one more appointment for one more company, and then we'll kind of see where we are. But it's really confusing because I don't know anything about this. I don't know who's right. I don't know if our engineer is right or if these companies are right and what's going to happen to the house. So these last guys, they also mentioned that we're going to have to wait 6 months to a year before we do work because the house needs time to settle. So it's going to, if they aggressively raise it up 5 to 7 inches, it's going to crack and stuff throughout the year, which means we might have to wait on the rest of the renovations. So yeah, the saga continues. I think 2 or 3 out of these 4 have some kind of financing options. One of them has like a payment plan, and then the other one is just half up front and then half when the job is done. Crazy stuff.
All of the companies were willing to give us what the structural engineer had recommended.
Yeah.
And that probably would have been fine. So at the end of the day, we just kind of like were thinking through like what we wanted, what was most important to us in terms of like this house right now, how long are we going to be here? How responsive was the company? Did they treat us like idiots? Did they, and so at the end of the day, we found 2 really, really good options.
Well, so taking a step back about the report, because the value to me of the report was it gave us a baseline, because we know nothing about this.
True.
We have
That's
no
true.
idea about foundation stuff.
Like that was it was $450. And I feel like that was worth it.
It was
because
worth
we
it.
had no idea if people were like BSing us or not. It was a really good barometer.
It was a good baseline. So we knew we had something to measure all of the bids against. So if they were recommending more or less, we at least had an idea of what one professional recommended who was an impartial person.
That's a good point.
So at the end, the company that we liked 2 companies like you said, but the one that we ended up going with recommended like 7 extra piers.
Yes.
I don't know how much we want to get into this. But so you have like your concrete piers, those are the cheapest ones. And then you have steel piers, which are much more expensive, but a lot better. The company we went with have this hybrid piers. So they have steel on the bottom that helps you punch through some of the hard clay, but then they also have concrete as a part of it. So we found that to be attractive.
Overall, just felt really comfortable with the company, and they could start and get it done in 4 days. Like they could start, like we bid it, we gave it to them on Friday. They were done and finished by Friday the next week. So at the same time we're demoing upstairs, they're down here demoing. So our house is a hot mess, but we are living still in our apartment. So like worked out pretty perfectly actually.
Yeah, we got down to these last 2 companies. The prices were pretty comparable. It really came down to the timing. Like we knew we needed to be out of our apartment
I wouldn't say
soon.
the prices were comparable. The other company was much cheaper.
It was much cheaper,
Thousands of dollars cheaper.
Going based off of the report.
No, they bid it out the same way the other company was doing it.
They did?
Yeah, with extra piers and all steel, and they were less expensive. It makes no sense. But we went with this other company. We're happy we did because now we're in our house. And it's okay. So now we're gonna get into the footage situation because Tommy, the structural engineer, was like, "You can't live here while they do this. Like, you're not gonna want to be here."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Surely." I mean, that's an exaggeration.
It wasn't.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
It was insane. I'll show you the footage. We'll look at it right now.
Yeah,
It's
we'll let
crazy.
the footage speak for itself, but it was nuts. I mean, so they did like 30 piers.
Yeah, so they punched a bunch of holes through our thick slab foundation. They punch all these holes. They dig out all this dirt. They put these piers in here, and then essentially on top of these piers, they set like a jack, like a car jack, and then they lift your house up.
Which is a really interesting
is
process.
insane.
It's crazy that they can do this. It's so cool. But so they lift it, so they dig all these holes and they have all these spaces where they're going to put the piers. And what they do is that they lift up the different parts of the house a little at a time instead of just like going all at once in one part and then, basically breaking your house.
So it's crazy. And they did break our house. There are several cracks, but we already knew that was going to happen because, I mean, everything has to settle back together and we are going to renovate it anyway.
Yeah.
So.
But this company was great. They raised the house 5 inches.
I mean, they can tell you we used Perma-Pier. I mean, why don't we keep saying that company?
In Texas.
They're called Perma-Pier. They're in
great.
Texas. Highly recommend. If you have any questions about fixing your foundation or, I don't know, want to know anything about how to find a foundation company in Texas?
Yeah. I mean, so
that's what we did essentially.
It ended up costing us $16,600.
$16,000.
Yeah.
Which is
and
insane.
we had bids that could have done it for
Like
about 10.
No, the other bid that we liked was 13. But that was
13.
with drainage stuff.
Just drainage stuff. But he also, when he quoted just the report, it was like 9,000.
Oh, I don't remember.
Anyway,
whatever.
So it's like we could have gone. We did more than maybe we needed to do because we think we're gonna love this house. We think we're gonna stay here for a while, and we really wanted it to not have problems in the future. I mean, so next step for us.
We liked the company. We liked that they had the lifetime warranty.
I mean, so now we need to address some of the drainage issues around the house that caused the foundation to slip to begin with, and then once we do that.
Yeah, there are so many things that go into maintaining a home. It's like.
Yeah. But so now we've got a good foundation. The house is pretty much level and life is.
And that is how we fixed our foundation. So if you have any questions, like I said again, I mean, you probably don't have. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Tommy, the structural engineer, when he came, he was like, congratulations, you've bought a house on the most porous soil that exists in the whole world.
Yeah, except
Most
for like
expansive.
Africa.
That is some of the most expansive clay in the entire world. So
But that's just kind of Texas for you.
congratulations.
And now we have a lifetime warranty, so these guys can come back if there's problems in the future.
That is true. You're welcome, future self.